Hello and welcome to Sierra Make. So a long while back, I got a comment asking to show you guys how to pattern pants. And we're finally doing that today. But as you know, I'm not a professional seamstress. I tell you this all the time. So we're going to be using a tutorial from sewingforaliving.com. I'll put the link to the tutorial I'm using in the description down below. And we will pattern out some pants and then make them and see how they fit. And I'll let you know about whatever adjustments you could do and I will probably do. And yeah, let's start off with taking some measurements. Let's go. So here I've got a measuring tape and some blue tape for marking where I'm taking my measurements. And the first measurement I'm going to take is my waist. So this is just going to be how high I want the pants. So I want my pants to go as high as these leggings I'm wearing right now are. So I'm just going to wrap that measuring tape around my waist. You'll also want a notepad to write down all of these measurements because there's no way you can remember them all. We'll also want to calculate out what a fourth of the waist measurement is. So go ahead and write that measurement next to your waist measurement because that's what we'll actually be using when we pattern these pants. Next measurement you want to take is your hips at their widest part. So make sure that goes over the furthest part of your butt and yeah, the widest part of your hips. And here's a recommendation for you here. I recommend giving yourself an extra inch or so and making sure that that tape really slides up and down over those hips because you don't want this part to be too tight, as I learned after I sewed my pants. Next to that hip measurement, go ahead and calculate out what half of that would be and what a fourth of the hip measurement would be, because we will be using both of those for the patterning. Now you can see I've marked where I measured my hips with that blue tape and where I measured my waist. And so now the measurement I'm going to take is the distance between my waist and hips measurement, or my hip depth. The fourth measurement I'm going to take is the distance between my waist and my knee, and then the fifth measurement will be the full length of my legs, so from my waist down to wherever I want the pants to end, which should be, right a little below the ankle. The last measurement we need to take is the crotch depth or rise. For this, you're going to need a chair. I recommend one that is flat, not cushioned, but for the life of me, I could not find a non-cushioned chair, so I'm just using this one. And to take this measurement, you're going to want to sit on the chair, make sure that you're sitting up straight, and you're going to use a ruler to measure the distance between the bottom of the chair and your waist. The last thing we want to do before we start patterning this out is we want to know how far forwards or backwards the crotch curve needs to extend. So to calculate this, we're going to use Sewing for a Living's formula. For the front, it's 15% of a fourth of the hip measurement. And then for the back extension, it's going to be 45% of a fourth of the hip. Now that you have all of those measurements, it's time to start patterning it out. So I'm going to roll out this piece of packing paper here. I'm going to be using a red, green, and black Sharpie to draw this out. The red's going to be just the grid that I'm going to be working with. The green will be the basic pattern, and then the black will be the finished pattern marks, just for you guys to see. And because this part might be a little difficult to see, I'm also going to give you a little digital visual here on the side next to it. And let's get started. So starting off, we're going to make a rectangle that is the full length of the pants long and half of the hip width wide. Here I'm just drawing out the hip width and then the full length all the way down. Try and make sure that you're keeping those right angles and that you don't accidentally make these lines wider and further apart, because that's kind of what I did and I had to correct myself. And then we're going to split that rectangle in half to show the front and the back panels. We're going to do both of them at the same time. And now that we have our two columns, or the front and back sides, we're going to mark starting from the top down to the hip depth, the rise, and then the knee and the full length. And we're just going to draw a line straight across our rectangle for each of those points. So the top should be the waist, then down to the hips, then down to the crotch depth, then the knee and the full length again. This is our starting grid with the red marker. So now that that's done, we can start drafting the front panel of the pants pattern. Starting from the top left-hand corner, we will go down and inward 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters and make a little point there. And now we're going to take that point and connect it to the top of our rectangle with the distance being the 1/4 waist measurement. Then we will connect either side of that line that we made down to our hip depth line on our grid pattern. And on the middle of our rectangle, we will connect that hip depth line down to the rise line. Moving on to that rise line and back to the red marker, we're just going to mark out to the left the distance that we wanted our front extension to be. So that calculation we made before with the 15% of the 1/4 hip measurement, that is how far we're going to extend forwards. With that red marker, we're also going to make a 1.5 centimeter long line at a 45-degree angle from that extension line. Now we're just going to connect that extension line through our 45-degree angle line up to the hip depth line, making a nice smooth curve. Moving on, we're going to measure 1.2 inches or 3 centimeters in on that knee line from the center and also from the bottom length line into the center. Now we're just going to connect the end of our green lines down to the knee line at that point we just made in the back and down to the full length line, completing the rough draft of our front panel pants pattern. Now we can move on to the rough draft of the back panel. So starting from the top right corner, we are going to go in and up 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters and make a little point there. Then we will connect that point down to the red top grid line with the length being that 1/4 waist measurement plus 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters to add a little bit of a dart in there. Now we're going to make a point on the far right side, 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters above that hip depth line and connect that point to our green waistline. And we will connect the other side of that green waistline down to the hip depth line, like you see I'm doing here. Now back to that red marker, we're going to draw our extension line out from the red grid rise line. So remember, this is the back extension, so it's 45% of that 1/4 hip measurement. And we'll also draw a 4.5 centimeters or 1 3/4 inches line up from that extension line at a 45-degree angle. And we will connect the end of all those lines with our green marker. Moving on to the knee and ankle. On the far right-hand side, we are going to make a point 2 centimeters or 3 1/4 inches out from the knee point and the ankle. And then from the knee and ankle on the inner side, we're going to make a point 1 centimeter or 1/2 inch in on the knee and ankle again. And we will connect all of those points to our green rough draft lines. All right, lastly, we're going to make those final adjustments, like adding in the dart on the back pattern. So we're just going to stick this in the middle of our waistline that we had made, and we're going to just go 2 inches down or 5 centimeters and make sure this line is perpendicular, and we're going to draw that little dart triangle. We're also going to give some of these lines a more natural curve, so on the inside upper butt area of both the front and back panels, from that waist down to the hip depth line, we are going to go in 0.5 centimeters or a fifth of an inch and make a little dot in the center there and connect those, basically making this line more curved. And we are going to do the same thing to the upper thigh on the outside of both the back and the front panels. So we're going to go in 0.5 centimeters or a fifth of an inch in the center of those lines, and this is just going to make that line curve in a little bit. The very last adjustment is you are going to make sure that the line between the knee and the front and back crotch extensions is the same. So you want that line to be the same. And if it's not, on the back panel, you can just raise or lower that curve so that those lines are even. Now I'm just going to outline my final pattern lines with that black Sharpie. And I'm also going to draw in the grain line with the red Sharpie. This is going to be perpendicular to the knee and go down from the ankle up to the waist. And this will help me line it up with the fabric when I cut these pants out. And there we go. There is our drafted pants pattern using your measurements so that it fits you perfectly is hopefully how it's going to turn out. We'll see, because I'm now going to cut this out of some fabric that I had. I'm going to use this cute striped fabric, and I'm going to give myself 1/2 inch seam allowance. Hopefully that'll be enough. Honestly, I probably should have given myself 1 inch in the butt area just in case your girl bloats a little bit. And here's how I'm going to sew it together. First, we're going to sew the inside crotch of the two front pieces together and the two back pieces together like you see here. Then I'm going to open those both up with the right sides of the fabrics facing each other and pin and sew the inside of those pants together and the outside, leaving a little space because I'm going to put a zipper on the outer hip. Here I've got an invisible tan nude zipper. I also zigzagged that top edge just because I don't want it to fray. And if these fit correctly, I'll probably go back and serge all of my edges because I don't want this to fray and I think they look cute. And I'm just going to pin that to my fabric and using a zipper foot, sew it onto the fabric, and let's try them on. All right. I gotta say, these fit pretty well. I mean, they're a little baggy in the front, so maybe that front extension curve should be a little bit more curved than I made it. And I also didn't give myself enough leeway in terms of the booty size. And I also forgot to sew in the darts in the back like a dum-dum. So that's why I have like a bit of a gap there. I'll probably go back and fix that. But overall, you know, they fit pretty well. Like, they feel comfortable. As for the look of them, I mean, I think they look pretty cool, pretty snazzy. I kind of wish they had pockets, but now that I have the pattern, I can just make those small adjustments by like adding a little bit more to the butt area and changing that inner curve a little bit, and then I'll be able to make any pair of pants I want. Yeah, I think this turned out pretty well, considering this is my first time drafting pants. I was following the tutorial. I made a few mistakes here and there. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. And actually, now that I have this pants pattern, I would love to hear what kind of pants you want me to make. I mean, I know, I could always make those fur pants, but also if there's any other type of pants, like a cosplay pant or, some sort of eccentric fashion type pant you want me to try out, I can do that now, so let me know in the comments down below. Also, hit that like button. Share this video with people who want to try drafting some pants. They can't find pants that fit them and they just want to make their own or something like that. And please subscribe because I post every Friday at 3. Thank you for watching. Now that I have this pants pattern, I can make a lot more things. It's going to be very interesting. Very fun. Hoo-hoo. I always say every Friday at 3, but honestly, sometimes, more often than not, it ends up being like 3:15 or 3:30.
Like, I'm sorry. I've been taking a while to upload. This one's probably gonna be late too.